Yo, hold up. Kim Kardashian just walked face first into the most humiliating reality check of her entire dating life, and it happened in front of his mama. The blended family Fairytale she been selling y'all? Obliterated. Less than 24 hours after that little Malibu dinner, the receipts are leaking and Kim is in panic mode, scrambling to flip the narrative before the whole world figures out she got played. And Kim really thought parading mama into Scott Disick's birthday party was gonna lock this man down? Brew picked the worst possible audience to fumble in front of. Before we get into it, subscribe, don't miss it. Nah. Kim Kardashian, yes, the Skims mogul herself, got hit with a bombshell expose through Star magazine, with a story exploding across Yahoo Entertainment on May 28, 2026, claiming she's in a very hard place with Formula One champ Sir Lewis Hamilton over his refusal to retire. The leak landed less than a day after the couple stepped out at Nobu Malibu for Scott Disick's birthday with both of their moms in tow. Kim really thought planting mama next to Kris Jenner was gonna seal the deal. Clearly didn't think this through. Now let's pull up the receipts that show why this whole thing backfired spectacularly. Alright, y'all, gather round because the quotes on this story are wild. Let me walk you through the receipts one by one. In the Star magazine expose published May 28, 2026, an insider source dropped this straight bomb. Kim wants marriage and kids with Lewis, but it's hard to see how that can realistically happen when he's traveling around the world 9 months of the year. When I read that, I had to do a triple take. You knew his schedule. You've been flying to Tokyo, Florida, every track on the planet. You signed up for this. Then the same source went harder, saying, he checks every single box for her, except being able to provide the stability she craves at this stage of life. Translation? Lewis ain't giving her what she wants, and she knows it. But the killer quote, the one that gave the whole game away, was this one. Kim is in a very hard place. She's ultimately going to have to decide if she can adapt to his way of life, or not, because there's no way Kim is going to ask Lewis to quit his career that he adores. It's Kim who has to choose. Yo, when I saw that line, it's Kim who has to choose, I was like, that's not a woman in a happy relationship. That's a publicist drafting an exit strategy in real time. Now flip over to In Touch Weekly, a separate source about Lewis's mother Carmen Larbalestier, that woman who watches her son like a hawk, said straight up, from Carmen's perspective, the Kardashian lifestyle isn't something that really meshes with her son's personality long term. Brew. When mama says the lifestyle ain't meshing, it's over. That's the same as a death sentence in writing. And here's a cherry on top from a Nobu Malibu night. An insider told Harper's Bazaar, Kim would love to get married again and have more kids. She has eggs frozen and has no issue with doing another pregnancy. Yo, when I heard eggs frozen dropped in a couple's PR feature, I knew this was a hostage negotiation dressed up as a love story. Kim out here advertising her ovaries like a Skims drop. That's the dumbest flex I've ever heard. You don't tell the press about your fertility timeline unless you're trying to pressure a man. And let's not forget Lewis himself. When asked about retirement recently, he confirmed he has zero plans to leave Formula One. That man called 2025 his worst season ever, and even with that fire under him, he ain't quitting. Kim really thought she'd be more important than the sport? Nah. You can't say marry me to a man whose whole identity is wrapped in 20+ Grand Prix a year and expect him to take you seriously. Now that we got the quotes, let's connect the dots. Alright, now this is where it gets juicy. Let me lay out the timeline because nobody is connecting these dots properly. That Nobu dinner happened May 28, 2026. The Very Hard Place article dropped within hours of that same dinner. Yo, that ain't coincidence. That's damage control hitting the wire before the body was even cold. Somebody on Kim's team saw what went down at that table and ran straight to Star magazine to start spinning. Remember Carmen's first reported red flag? That In Touch report saying she didn't approve. That hit the press back in March 2026, meaning mama been on the record for months before this dinner. So when Kim invited Carmen to Scott Disick's birthday, she wasn't building bridges. She was walking into an ambush she didn't see coming. Kim really thought a Nobu reservation was gonna outweigh months of mama's intel? That's terrible strategy. Brew. And here's a detail you all missed. The kids. 3 of them, St. Chicago, and Sam, were at that dinner. North wasn't there. Now why does that matter? Because Carmen wasn't just there for vibes. She was there as Lewis's eyes and ears, clocking the family dynamic in real time. The chaos, the staff, the Kris Jenner of it all. Mama was on reckon. Lewis brought his mother to a Kardashian family event the same way you bring a lawyer to a deposition. That's not love. That's due diligence. Now connect this to the bigger relationship timeline. The whole couple thing only went public in early 2026. Lewis was coming off the worst season of his F1 career in 2025 with Ferrari. Conveniently, when his career needed a distraction, Kim appeared. Now his season's heating up, his focus is back, and suddenly the relationship is in a hard place. That's a move of someone whose usefulness has expired. And let's talk about Lewis's track record. The man dated Nicole Scherzinger for 7 years without marrying her. 7 years. He's been linked to Rihanna, Gigi Hadid, Rita Ora, Barbara Palvin, and exactly 0 of them got a ring. Any smart person would have looked at that pattern and known what they were signing up for. But Kim? She thought SHE was gonna be the exception. Lewis Hamilton doesn't have real advisors. Nah, Kim doesn't have real advisors. Mama Carmen is the whole advisory board. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Now check this out. Nobody's talking about the specific wording in that Star magazine quote. The source said it's Kim who has to choose. Zoom in on who has to. That phrasing? That ain't a source defending Kim. That's a source throwing her under the bus. A friendly source would have said they are figuring it out together. This source straight up said the ball is in her court, meaning Lewis has already made his decision. His choosing F1. His choosing the racetrack. He didn't even have to say it out loud. That single phrase I asked the breakup notice. And Kim really didn't catch that? That's embarrassing. Now zoom into the in touch quote about Carmen. Long term. That one word is a kill shot. Mama didn't say for now. She didn't say currently. She said long term. That's mom speak for this ain't ending in a wedding, baby. Carmen is signaling to Lewis through the press that she's playing the long game against this relationship. If Lewis had half a brain, which he does, that man is calculated, he would have heard Mama loud and clear. And he did. That's why the man brought her to Scott's party. He wasn't introducing her. He was authorizing her to deliver the verdict. And let's do a freeze-frame analysis on that infamous post-dinner car ride. Photos circulated showing Kim in the front seat while Carmen, Lewis's mother, was placed in the back. Perez Hilton himself called it bad manners on X on May 29, 2026. Now in ANY traditional household, and especially in Carmen's world, you do not put Mama in the back seat. That seating arrangement is a symbolic catastrophe. It told Carmen exactly what kind of woman Kim is, one who puts herself first, even in front of his mother. That single car ride told Carmen everything she needed to write a verdict on. Kim thought she was being the girlfriend. She was actually filming her own audition tape for Why Mama Said No. Now zoom into the dinner location itself, Nobu Malibu. Of all the places to bring a man's traditional, grounded mother to evaluate a blended family vibe, you picked the most paparazzi-saturated, TMZ-staked, flashbulb-coated restaurant in Los Angeles County. There was never a private moment that night. Every interaction was performed for cameras. Carmen, a woman who lives a quiet life, sat through a 3-hour photo shoot disguised as a birthday dinner. If Kim had ANY awareness, she would have picked somewhere private. But she didn't, because the whole point was a photo op. And Mama clocked that within 5 minutes. That's the problem with Kim. Every move is content first, relationship second. Now let's see how the media covered this. Now here's where the media spin gets wild. Different outlets framed this story completely differently. Harper's Bazaar framed the Nobu dinner as a romantic milestone. 2 moms meeting, blended bliss, eggs frozen, ready for love. That's a Fairytale spin. But notice how convenient that framing dropped right alongside Kim's PR machine. Meanwhile, Star magazine took the opposite angle. Kim is in a very hard place. She has to choose. He won't quit. That's the exit ramp spin, planting seed for the eventual breakup announcement. Then Ola, USA went neutral, focusing on the optics, moms, kids, dinner, photos, safe coverage, no commitment. Yahoo Entertainment, meanwhile, picked up the Carmen disapproval angle from In Touch, putting Mama's doesn't mesh long-term line in huge headlines. That's a sabotage spin, Carmen's camp going public to pressure Lewis out. Daily Mail went the deepest with an open secret angle, calling the whole thing a PR arrangement neither side wants to publicly admit. That's a cynical spin, and honestly, it might be the most accurate one. So you got 5 outlets, 5 different stories, all from the same week. Now some Kardashian fans out here saying this is all rumor and the star source is incredible. But those are the same people who thought Kim was about to marry Pete Davidson, Tom Brady, and Bad Bunny over the past 3 years. The receipts say otherwise. The media trying to spin this for Kim, but the timeline doesn't lie. The Hard Place article didn't drop randomly. It dropped strategically. But here's what nobody is saying. Mainstream gossip outlets want you to believe this is a love story with a schedule problem. That's the lazy take. Kim is a busy mom. Lewis travels. Boo-hoo. 2 A-listers can't make it work. That's what they're selling. Nah, here's what they won't tell you. This was never a real relationship. This was a usefulness contract, and Lewis just expired Kim's invoice. Think about the historical pattern, because this is the move Lewis has been running his entire career. 7 years with Nicole Scherzinger and no ring. Linked to Rihanna, Rita Ora, Gigi Hadid, Barbara Palvin, and not a single proposal. Lewis is a serial monogamist who collects high-profile girlfriends like he collects championship trophies. Except girlfriends. He gives back at the end of the season. Kim is just the latest model year. And the scariest part? She thought she was different. Now flip it to Kim's side. Here's the forbidden truth. Kim Kardashian is the most surgically altered, financially stable, internationally famous woman on earth, and she still can't get a man to commit. Lamar Odom married her then unraveled. Chris Humphries, 72-day marriage, lawsuit ending. Kanye, custody war. Pete Davidson, bounced after meeting the kids, the 6-month rule that hit Kim TOO. Tom Brady, Bad Bunny, all rumors, all ghosts. The pattern isn't the man. The pattern is Kim. The Kardashian brand requires a man. Patriarchal princess can't function without one. But no man wants to be a Kardashian accessory. Kim is rewriting history to stay relevant in a love narrative she already lost. That's a desperate move. And let's connect this to Lewis's career reality. That timeline we mapped, it tells you everything. Lewis attached himself to Kim during his worst F1 season ever, 2025 with Ferrari, average grid position 9.3, called it a nightmare. When you're a 7-time world champion getting botted on track, you need a distraction that puts you back in the spotlight as a winner. Enter Kim. Enter the cameras. Enter the Kardashian sparkle. Now that is plugged back in. Focus, mentally reset for 2026. The distraction has done its job. He doesn't need Kim anymore. And Kim doesn't have a strategy for being used by a man, because for once, she's the one being played. Lewis is playing chess. Kim is playing checkers with a man who has a 20 Grand Prix per year alibi. And here's the angle the gossip rags will never touch. Kim's real fear isn't the schedule. It's that her brand needs marriage milestones to stay culturally relevant in 2026. Kourtney got Travis. Kourtney got Bieber. Kendall got Bad Bunny. Kylie got Timothy. Kim is the ONLY one without a Fairytale chapter right now. Look at the pressure on the brand. Skims is a $5 billion empire built on the image of the woman who has it all. But having it all requires a man. Without one, the brand cracks. Kim isn't fighting for Lewis. She's fighting for the brand. And Lewis just figured out he's been auditioning to be a logo, not a husband. He represents the OLD type of man the culture is done handing over to the Kardashian machine. And that's the truth they won't tell you. So what happens next? Here's what's most likely to happen. Mark my words. By midsummer 2026, you're gonna see a conscious uncoupling style soft statement. No drama, no fight, no diss tracks. Just a quiet leak that says they decided to remain friends. What's the schedule? When Lewis hits the European race leg, and Kim doesn't show up at Monaco or Silverstone. That's the exit in motion. Kim's PR team will frame it as her choice. She chose her kids, her empire, her stability. But everybody who's been paying attention is gonna know the truth. Lewis ghosted her with class. He's gonna keep racing, keep winning, keep dating models nobody's ever heard of, and never speak Kim's name in an interview again. Mark my words. That silence is gonna hurt Kim worse than any breakup drama ever could. She thrives on being talked about. Lewis simply not mentioning her. That's the cruelest finish line of all. Now, If Kim refuses to accept the L quietly, watch for the alternative. She's gonna try a Hail Mary, a surprise appearance at a race, a Skims F1 collaboration, maybe even a leak they're trying to work it out story. If she does that, it's gonna backfire catastrophically, because Carmen is gonna shut it down faster than a yellow flag. We've already seen Mama go on the record once. She'll do it again, and this time she won't be subtle. If Kim pushes for that ring, Carmen's gonna release the full receipts about what really went down at Nobu. And Kim is not ready for what's coming if Mama decides to go public. We saw what happened to other women who tried to muscle Lewis into commitment. They all ended up footnotes in his dating history. Kim doesn't stand a chance against a mother who's been her son's gatekeeper for 4 decades. Either way, Kim loses this round. Looking at the bigger picture, this moment is gonna mark something huge for the Kardashian dynasty. For 20 years, the Kardashian formula has worked. Date an athlete, marry a rapper, leave rich of fame, build the empire. But the Lewis-Hamilton arc is exposing the cracks. The next generation of A-list men, the Lewis Hamiltons, the Bad Bunnies, the Travis Kelces, they don't need Kardashian PI anymore. Social media made every athlete his own brand. Streaming made every musician his own network. The Kardashian sparkle was a 2010s asset. In 2026, it's a liability. 5 years from now, people will look back at this Nobu dinner as the moment the Kardashian marriage industrial complex officially started to die. Kim is watching the culture shift without her, and there's nothing she can do about it. The empire isn't falling overnight, but the cracks just got nationally televised at a sushi restaurant in Malibu. Whatever happens, one thing's clear, Lewis already won. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed uncovering the real story, smash that like button and hit subscribe so you never miss when we expose what everyone else is too scared to say. Ring that bell for notifications.